Nation, how you doing? Come on in. Take a seat. Sit back. Relax. Put your feet up. Grab a drink. And let's talk Saints football. Y'all know what time it is. Time to keep it real. Let's go. Come on in. I'm Dope17, and this is your juice of the day. Hope everyone's having a wonderful Friday. It's a beautiful day outside. The New Orleans Saints are making moves left and right. So, family, without wasting any time, let's get to it. So, sit back, put your feet up, grab a drink, and let's talk Saints football. Well, family, courtesy of Saints News Network and our good friend over there, Bob Rose, the Saints offered Jameis Winston a restructured deal. This was first reported by Diane Rossini of ESPN. Friday morning, the New Orleans Saints offered a restructured deal to quarterback Jameis Winston. Rossini reports that Winston has until Wednesday, family, March the 15th, to accept the terms or he will be released. Now, he is counted. Winston, he mean Jameis, is scheduled to count $15.6 million against the salary cap this season. If designated as a post-June 1st release, New Orleans would save $12.8 million against the cap, while creating $2.8 million of dead cap in 2023 and $8.4 million in 2024. Terms of the Saints' restructured offer to Winston are not available. Winston, of course, was the first overall selection in the 2015 NFL draft by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was back up to Drew Brees in 2020, was the starter going into 2021 after Brees retired. Winston completed 59% of his attempts for 1,170 yards and 14 touchdowns with 3 intercepts before being lost with a season knee injury in Week 8. After signing a 2-year extension last season, Winston returned as the starter. He played in only 3 games, completing 63.5% of his throws for 858 yards with 4 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. New Orleans signed free agent quarterback Derek Carr to a lucrative deal earlier this week. Carr will be the starter, but the Saints would need an experienced backup behind him. Winston will not only provide that experience, but also has knowledge of the team's offensive system. So, family, the Saints are wanting to keep Jameis Winston around. I'm sure this is a shock to everyone. We all thought that for sure Jameis would be out of here. Just like many of us thought that Michael Thomas would be gone. But the Saints seemingly want to keep the band together. Now, Jameis staying on as the backup quarterback, I would love it. The thing is, how does Jameis feel? Would he feel slighted about the way that many of us feel that he was treated? Is this something that he wants to go through? I'm sure him and his agent probably right now are looking around the league to try to find possible starting quarterback opportunities for him, or possibly go somewhere where the starter is really not in that stronger position to hold that to continue to be the starter. In other words, go somewhere where he'll have an opportunity during the season to take over. Not seemingly, but virtually the same way that it was done to him here. Now, again, I would love for Jameis to stay. It depends on his mindset. Of course, he knows the system. The coaches, evidently, the coaches they want him. Family, we thought it was a done deal. They wouldn't want Jameis. We thought Jameis was just out the door, but they've given him offered him a new deal. He has until Wednesday, so the clock is ticking. Will Jameis Winston accept the new deal? Leave me a message in the chat to let me know, family. What do you think Jameis would do? Do you think Jameis will accept it? Do you think he should accept it? Or do you think Jameis should move on and try to go somewhere else as a backup? Right now, is there really a market for Jameis Winston as a starting quarterback in the NFL? He got hurt this year, and he got hurt the previous year. So is there a market for Jameis Winston as a starting quarterback in this league? I'm sure he can go somewhere and be a backup quarterback and eventually get his opportunity if the starter's not performing the way that the club needs him to perform. But Jameis Winston remaining on as the Saints' backup quarterback also says that they must not be too not sure, but what's the word I'm looking for? They must not be too happy with the performance of one Andy Dalton. Contrary to all our beliefs, we all are sitting here believing that the Saints will re-sign Andy Dalton. But I'm hearing that Andy Dalton possibly will not be back in New Orleans. So maybe this is the Saints saying, hey, we got Jameis. He's an upgrade over Andy as a backup. He comes in. The playbook is still open, wide open. We don't have to dummy down the playbook. So a Derek Carr, Jameis Winston, 1-2 quarterback room, man, would be, I think it'll be great for the Saints. They'll give them a strong room. You still draft a quarterback in the mid rounds of this year's draft, third, fourth, fifth round. I say you still draft a quarterback. Okay. In other Saints news, Derek Carr's brother, David, said Michael Thomas and Tyrann Mathieu helped the Saints recruit him. So for all the Michael Thomas wants out of New Orleans, Saints are ready to move on from Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas and the Honey Badger were in on recruiting Derek to New Orleans. Once Derek signed, you saw he used the Tyrann Mathieu Who Dat chant video to tweet out Who Dat. You saw Michael Thomas immediately come out. Thank you, Jesus. So on David Carr stated I believe they said this was his son's podcast. David Carr said it turns out that getting Derek Carr to New Orleans was a team effort. Not just the front office, but the entire team. It was a team effort. His older brother and former NFL quarterback David spoke about the process that led to Carr's 4-year contract with the Saints as a free agent and why he picked the Saints over the Jets among other contenders during a guest appearance on his son's Austin's Harvester Sports podcast. One factor that stood out in the process, New Orleans veteran experience in the locker room, on the coaching staff, and within the front office. While the Jets talk a big game and have some young, hungry standouts in cornerback Sauce Gardner, head coach Robert Saleh, Carr believed they like the nucleus of pros who have seen it all and can roll with the punches in the NFL. When you look at it from the Saints standpoint, there are some young guys, but there's also a lot of veteran guys on the defensive side. There's a lot of veteran coaches there, a lot of guys that are grizzled veterans that understand how to make it work. David Carr said, pointing out to offensive coordinator Pete Carmichael Jr. Derek Carr likes Pete Carmichael Jr. as one of the most experienced play callers around the NFL, and how his work with Drew Brees became a selling point for his brother. So Derek Carr looked at how Pete Carmichael worked with Drew Brees, and this was one of the determining factors for him choosing the New Orleans Saints. This past season, we were not wild with how Pete Carmichael ran the offense. But the question again, was Pete Carmichael hamstrung by the person that he had under center. Now he has a guy who's familiar with the West Coast system. The Saints run a variation of the West Coast system. Last season, Derek Carr had to learn a totally new system with Josh from head coach Josh McDaniels. He kind of struggled in learning that system. So now he comes to New Orleans. He'll be back in the system that he's comfortable with. One selling point that I'm hearing is the Saints love Carr is because that now they can give the Saints what the Saints like to do. They like to give 2 plays to the quarterback as he goes up to the line of scrimmage and give the quarterback the power to decide to keep the current play or to choose from the 2 plays that he was given. Let's see. Also, continuing on, Carr continues saying Derek has relationships with a lot of those guys too that go far beyond just this offseason. With Tyrann Mathieu, he's known him forever. You know, a lot of these guys, Michael Thomas, they go way back and they have history. We didn't know that. So these guys probably met in the Pro Bowl. They probably do some things in the offseason that we are unaware of. And hey, man, they brought him in. They recruited him. They brought him in. He's a New Orleans Saints, man. And here's hoping that everything works out for our black and gold. So when Derek became available, they were like, no, you're coming here. Wow, that's great. They're like, no, you're coming here. I love that. Mathieu played against Carr's Raiders for years with the Kansas City Chiefs, going 3-1 and intercepting him once. But it's clear those matchups built a level of respect for the quarterback. Thomas and Carr were standout high school recruits from similar stomping grounds in Southern California. Now, their relationship goes all the way back to high school. Thomas attended William Howard Taft Charter High School in Los Angeles, while Carr was 2 hours away at Bakersfield Christian High School in Fresno. Though Thomas is expected to be released at the start of the new league year on March 15, it's interesting that he was helping to recruit Carr and celebrated the quarterback's decision to sign with New Orleans. Well, Bob, he is working on the deal. The Saints and Michael Thomas are currently working on the deal. We now know this as it was broke yesterday by Nick Underhill. Does this mean Thomas could return to the Saints in 2023? Yes, they're working on the deal. We now know that they are working on the deal as we speak. But that's going to be tough to figure out. No, it's not. He'll need a new contract altogether. They're working on a new contract altogether, likely including an agreeable salary and heavy incentives for performance should he return to his 2019 Offensive Player of the Year form, which he will. I just believe in Michael Thomas, man. That version of Thomas we haven't seen in 3 years because of unfortunate injuries. A deal needs to make sense for both sides. It will make sense for both sides. They want to get the deal done. It's going to get done. But if the Saints have already gotten on the same page with him and getting a quarterback, he and other leaders on the team want it, you have to think the hurdles ahead can't be much more difficult. It won't. Michael Thomas will be back. We got Derek Carr. Michael Thomas will be back. Also today, in other Saints news, the Saints also re-signed JT Gray today, family. The special teams ace. Listen, JT's been a great special teams player for the Saints. So you have to keep him. Special teams unit the last 2-3 years for the Saints have been less than spectacular. They have been underwhelming. JT Gray is a lone bright spot. He's a Pro Bowler, a multi-time Pro Bowler as a special teamer. His play as a safety when thrust into duty leaves a little lacking. But as a special teamer, a cool member of the special teams, I think it was a great deal to sign him, to keep him in the fold. So you have that leader on special teams, you have that dog on special teams. And this was written by our brother John Hendricks of the Saints News Network. Saints give JT Gray contract extension. The Saints continue to put in work to keep their own, as reported by ESPN's Diana Rossini. New Orleans is giving special team standout and safety JT Gray a 3-year contract. So it's a 3-year contract extension for Gray. Ian Rappaport reported that it's worth $9.6 million. Wow, almost $10 million. And gives him a $2.4 million signing bonus. The max deal is $11.1 million and will give him an opportunity for an additional $500,000 yearly in playtime incentives. Gray was a first-team All-Pro in 21 and also made the Pro Bowl that season. He finished as a second-team All-Pro in 2019. Excuse me, family. I apologize. All right. Gray logged 310 special team snaps last season, which was just over 69% of the reps. Safety is definitely an area of need for the Saints, as others like P.J. Williams, Daniel Sorensen, and Justin Evans are headed to free agency. Darren Sorensen and Justin Evans, I do not think will be back. We can look for P.J. family to come back, maybe on his annual one-year contract, like he's been doing for years now. PJ is a valuable depth piece, I think, for the Saints secondary, and he has thrived since being moved to safety and playing the slot. So I think keeping PJ Williams would be a wise decision. All right, family. So JT Gray's back in the fold. The Saints have offered Jameis Winston a new deal. They want to keep Jameis around as the backup quarterback. Great. The Saints and Michael Thomas are working on the deal. Now, we really all had those two situations wrong. Many of us thought that it was a done deal. A lot of people I was hoping that it was not true. And it looks that my prayers will be answered. Michael Thomas will remain in New Orleans Saints. A lot of family members were wanting the Saints to possibly keep Jameis Winston as the backup. Why go out and sign another backup when you have Jameis Winston under contract? But the Saints can't afford to pay him the money that they were going to pay him. So will Jameis accept this new deal, or will him and his agent go out and look for him a starting position somewhere? Is there even a market? Again, is there a market for Jameis Winston currently in the National Football League as a starting quarterback? Right now, I don't know. We're coming off 2 injury-plagued seasons. I would have to say no, that there isn't right now. In other news, family, there was a big trade today in the NFL as the division rivals. That's right, the division rivals, Carolina Panthers, have traded with the Chicago Bears, and the Carolina Panthers now hold the number 1 pick in this year's NFL draft. The Bears got a haul. The Panthers even gave up wide receiver DJ Moore, to me, who was one of the better receivers in the National Football League and certainly one of the better receivers in the NFC South. So now he will be taking his talents to the Windy City, to Chicago. All right. It reads, the Bears are trading the number 1 overall pick in this year's 2023 NFL draft to the Carolina Panthers in exchange for wide receiver DJ Moore. The 2023 number 9 overall pick, a 2023 second-round pick, a first-round pick in 2024, and a second in 2025, NFL insider Ian Rappaport reports. So let's get this straight. The Panthers, in exchange for this year's number 1 pick, they're sending DJ Moore. They're sending the number 9 pick this year in the first round. They're sending this year's second-round pick. They're sending them a first-round pick in 24 and a second-round pick in 2025. Man, the Bears get DJ Moore. Man, I think that's great, and they're still in the top 10. And the Bears still drafting the top 10 to get a good player that can come in and help them. Man, I think that was a great trade for the Bears. With his quarterback of the future, Justin Fields, already on the roster, and with them making this trade, that's what that does. That shows that the Bears have confidence in Justin Fields and that they feel he is their quarterback of the now and of the future, and they want to move forward with him and build around him. So what do? They go out, they get him a bona fide number 1 receiver in DJ Moore. they get a slew of draft picks to continue to build a team up around him. I love this move for the Bears. Chicago has stocked up on picks by trading back to allow Carolina and new head coach Frank Reich their pick of top signal callers on the board. Around the NFL, we'll have more shortly. Okay, so that was that. So my thing is, what do the Carolina Panthers do with the first pick? Family, in the chat, who do you think it's going to be? Anthony Richardson. Stock has blew up since the combine. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Will Levis. To me, the shake is one of them is Will Levis. And to me, if you just go by game film and look at the game film from this season, Anthony Richardson sometimes is sloppy in his footwork with his mechanics, so he's not as accurate as the other quarterbacks. Will Levis, he's a gunslinger. Sometimes he allows his eyes to lie to him. Sometimes he just gets careless with the ball. Stroud, Bryce Young, to me, are the top two quarterbacks in this draft. Now, the Panthers could be moving up. They may select Anthony Richardson, a bigger, faster version, better arm. They're saying than Cam Newton had. So will the Carolina Panthers draft Cam Newton 2.0 and Anthony Richardson? Stay tuned. We'll find out. Well, look, family, that's going to do it for your Saints news of the day. Just to recap, the Saints signed JT Gray to a contract extension. Also, the Saints offered Jameis Winston a restructured deal. We also went over Derek Carr's brother David, saying that Michael Thomas and Tyrann Mathieu helped recruit him to the Saints, which was big. Again, we all thought Michael Thomas and Jameis were gone, but again, the New Orleans Saints say, not too soon. We still want them. The thing is, can they come to terms on a contract that would benefit both the players and the team? And also, we just read about the Bears trading the number 1 overall pick to the Panthers for a slew of draft picks and wide receiver DJ Moore. Well, look, family, let's go do it for your juice of the day again. We'll be with you guys probably later tonight, but if not tonight, family, I'll be with you guys tomorrow. But until then, this has been your Keeping It Real Who That Sports podcast. Is Juice of the Day. I'm your host, Dove17. Reminding you, hit that like button. If it's your first time watching this, subscribe. Come join the family. You won't regret it. We have fun over here. And like we always go out, love and who that. And I'll see everybody later. Until then, take care, family. Keeping It Real Who That Sports Pod, legendary Coach Rod, Dove17. Let's rock. Who that? Boss kick, black and gold. Let's go. First and goal from the one. Best believe we go punch. Punching in, get them punch. With them Saints, watch us march. Down the field, down your throat. Keeping it real, who that sports. Breaking news, interviews, open lines just for you. Call in, join in, Pale Nation, just win. B.I., Mount Zion, Coach Green, oh my, CJ, JV, Trick or Trade, Jose. Keep it real, baby. Keep it real, baby. Keep it real, baby. Keep it real, baby.